do this. Yes. We hope that you don't mind that we record, and we were just talking about it. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. And as you know, we usually don't have a lot of introduction things because the lead will decide how the session goes. So over to you, Mark, and thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. And thanks, everybody, for coming today. And so, again, this is sort of a compliment to the, well, first of all, my compliments to the people organizing MyFest. Speaking of the word compliment to all the MyFest folks organizing. They've been a really fantastic team. And I just really love this event, what I've been able to enjoy of it. And I look forward to participating in future ones, especially in a future international dad joke session that we've planted the seed for right now, just today, shortly, just a few minutes ago. So this session is a complement to the session that we did the other day on Tuesday. So again, you might want to go back and watch that video. I'll try not to repeat any. I don't plan to repeat anything from that. And let me just put up my initial slide. So this is called Playful Prompting, a lighter approach to AI. And this really came about because in addition to being a composition teacher, I'm also a creative writer, and I teach creative writing too, writing with digital tools. I run this lab at the University of Southern California called the Hacks Lab, where we look at cultural readings of computer software code. But more importantly, I'm the communications director for the Electronic Literature Organization, which is about creative uses of digital technology and the generation of new forms of writing. So let's get started. But I do want to say this summer I taught a course in machine-assisted writing. And so some of the things that you'll see today came right out of that course. So even though I might frame it as part of my creative writing activities, and you might think, oh, but I want to teach this in a class or something like that, or I'm looking for class activities. Some of these are class activities. I just, I guess I sort of go back and forth between more serious and more lighthearted things. Again, maybe in the spirit of this conference too. I really love its, I don't know, its attitude, I guess. Its ethos. So one of the things we did in my class was we started using ChatGPT to come up with a check-in question. And if I go back way back to when we started this prompt, let's see if I can get our earliest things. Okay, so here's my first prompt for this, to come up with one of these. Yo, excellent. Well, anyway, you'll see why I'm talking this way to the ChatGPT in a little bit. You're a digital artist. Yeah, doggies. Running a class of college students. Sorry, yeah, doggies is an expression my daughter made up as kind of an exclamation, and we try to popularize it. Running a class of college students, Zoomers, and you need to give them a check-in question at the beginning of class. A good check-in question is more interactive and evokes powerful pondering or rich ruminations and cannot be answered with just a simple phrase or a simple word. A bad check-in question is one that is shallow. Limit your question to 25 to 60 words. Be quite quirky with your questions. The question does not have to pertain to digital art, but should help the students share something about themselves. These should be fun to answer, not boring. Okie dokie. And so some of its questions it came up with were really remarkable. Let me see if it's got some of my, well, I guess they're all here in this. Again, I'm doing this all in one session in ChatGPT because I wanted to have a memory of what I've asked from it. So here's one that was one of the weirdest ones, but it was great. If you were to morph into an exotic creature every time you listen to your favorite song, what creature would that be and why? Describe the first time you transform. Where are you? What's happening around you? And how do your new abilities or senses heighten your experience of the song and the world? What a great check-in question that was. Another one. Imagine you've discovered a magical paintbrush that can create portals to any world you paint. You only have enough magic for one round trip. What fantastical world would you paint? And who from our class would you take as your sidekick? What awe-inspiring treasures or wisdom would you bring back to share on our last day together? I mean, again, these questions were just delightful, and the students loved to see them generated, and they loved to answer them. So I thought we would have a check-in question for today. So you can see my prompt has been drafted. Hey, ChatGPT. So ever since I started writing this book with ChatGPT, I've started to address it as a person, which is, again, in my teaching, that's exactly the opposite of what I teach. But again, this is a little bit performative. And I'm trying to evoke a certain set of linguistic responses from the system by doing this. So there's actually there's a reason I'm doing this. It's both performative, but also systematic. So we could talk about that some other time. Hey, ChatGPT, I need a new check-in question for a group of super cool folks attending MyFest, a conference about open access education that covers everything from making classes more equitable to attending to student well-being and joy. They'll answer in the chat, so answers will have to be typed in a sentence or two. What can we ask them that will get my session about playfully prompting ChatGPT off to a great start? All right, let's see what it does. That seems like a reasonable prompt. And of course, again, we know
likes MyFest.
What's that? I know.
Likes MyFest.
I know, Maha. It is like there is this certain kind of like, no wonder so many people take this thing to be a person, because again, its responses are beyond sometimes. Sounds like a fantastic event. Here's an engaging check-in question to kick off your session. If you could design a fantastical digital tool that could instantly enhance open access education, what magic powers would it have? How would it spark joy, nurture well-being, and promote equitable learning? Let your imagine run wild. So I'll put that in the chat, and you guys just keep answering it. Answer away as I'm talking, I guess, really. Okay, so I'll let you guys answer that one while we go on to some other slides. Enjoy. And again, I recommend that exercise for your classes. So let me just go over back to my slides. So again, for those of you just joining us, we just put a little prompt in the chat. You might not be able to see it, but it's a little discussion opening prompt. And I'm going back to sharing a portion of my screen. Here we go. So once again, you can also follow my Medium if you want to. I guess that's my form of open access sharing of my experiments with ChatGPT. Everything from how to get it to imitate your writing voice, to like whether students can cheat with it or not, or can it copy your, some prompts for assignments. And again, all of this is changing so rapidly. I just started playing around with the Claude system yesterday, and it's changing my perspective on lots of things. And it has abilities that ChatGPT does not. It's changing the nature of what's possible very rapidly. Matt Kirschenbaum wrote an article for the Atlantic Monthly called "Prepare for the Text Apocalypse," and where he takes maybe his darkest view of what's going to happen. And he talks about this gray sludge that is that's headed our way. And the gray sludge is full of texts that have been generated by ChatGPT. And if you don't think this is the case, your Amazon store is already full of books, including my own, that were generated with ChatGPT. And that's just the beginning. So I read that article with my students, and of course we read it as one of the texts of our class. And then I started working on this project where I was prompting ChatGPT to write a book with me. And I asked it to make up a song in response to this article, and to call it, I think I might have given it the title, "Don't Text Me About the Text Apocalypse." And ChatGPT wrote the lyrics in response. And then I took it to another AI system and had it create a melody for the song. And then I took it over to Kyber and had it make an animated video for the song. So if you'll indulge me for a second, I will share that with you. Ridiculous though it may be in every form. Now, the chief thing, according to my son, that I need to apologize for in advance is my singing. Because even though I use this AI generated music, I I didn't really come up with all that great a melody. So I don't know. Again, feel free to mute. You can just turn down your speakers too. But the animation is kind of fun to watch. So let me go to la la la. Share screen again. Let's see, basic. How do I want to do this? Let me do portion of the screen again, maybe. Portion of the screen, optimize for a video clip. Okay. And then I'll bring you guys into that other window and line things up a little bit. And again, this will work as well as YouTube ever works over. The only thing I need to ask is, can someone give me a thumbs up if they can hear audio on this? In the age of keys that clatter and is audio coming through?
Yep, it was coming.
Okay, all
Yes,
right.
yes.
So sadly, you that means you got to hear me sing. But anyway, that's okay. It gets better as it goes, I think. In the age of keys that clatter and fingers that dance, a tide is on the rise. Humans stand no chance. Don't text me about the textpocalypse, dear, for the song of silicone is all I hear. The scribes are a quiver, the poets a dread, as thoughts are formed not in my heart but AI's head. Don't text me about the textpocalypse, my friend. Text me. A new era is upon us. It's the start, not the end. The quill and the keyboard, the ink and the bite. The sun is setting on man's linguistic might. Don't text me about the textpocalypse. When the pseudo flies, it's the syndrome. Textpocalypse love. The textpocalypse is coming, a storm so grand. Human prose replaced by an AI's hand. Don't text me about the textpocalypse, darling, don't pretend. For it's not the end of writing, just a different trend. As the AI pets its prose and the silicone sings. Don't text me about the textpocalypse, for it's not the end of things. Don't text me about the textpocalypse. Don't text me about the textpocalypse. Okay, so that's just weird, but but the complete lyrics are here, and in this book that I've written called co-written, I guess, called Hallucinate This, with co-written with ChatGPT 4. Sorry, it's not lined up all that well. Let me get that somewhat resized, and let me turn off YouTube so it doesn't keep playing. And the video kind of captures the spirit of that project, which is kind of hallucinatory. And I really like to sort of lean into this question of what it means for these things to hallucinate and what it means to hallucinate with them. Again, hallucination is the computer science term for what these systems do. But my good friend Jeremy Douglas up at UC Santa Barbara says we probably should use the term confabulate, psychologically speaking. Right, because confabulation is the process where, like, the human mind makes up these things, right? to fill in gaps of a story of a night you don't remember, or most events are reconstruction. So you're filling in details without realizing it. That's closer to what the system seems to do, of course. So again, a lot of my teaching project is to teach people that ChatGPT is the stochastic parrot, not the person. And the less people think of ChatGPT as a person, the better, as far as their expectations on what the system will deliver. But that said, sometimes it's fun to lean in the other way. And again, before we get too far, I just want to throw in this little mnemonic that my students and I and ChatGPT made up to sort of help think about how to prompt more effectively. So we use the little mnemonic of prompts. And the idea is that in your actual prompt, you specify the personality or voice tone or mood of the writing that you want. You give it a rubric for what's considered better or worse versions of what you're looking for. That's, obviously very important in any writing assignment. Again, most of these things you'll notice are exactly the things that are good teaching ideas for those of us who teach writing. What's your objective, communication goals? What do you hope to achieve? What are your models? Again, with something like Claude, you can give it a novel length amount of text to serve as either models or content. So just everything changes at that point. Parameters, what details do you want to include, facts, quotes, or et cetera? Again, if you don't want it making things up, you might want to give it the content you want to use. And then task. Sorry, I have a child who might need a car coming in for a moment. Oh, you're looking for Ace? I don't know where Ace is. Task, what do you want? What do you need the AI to produce? Of course, that's the thing that most people think of first. That's why I've kind of put it later on in this list, because again, I assume you'll know what you want from it. And then settings, since ChatGPT at least resets every time. Sorry, I was looking over at the chat and enjoying it. Since ChatGPT resets its memory more or less every time, then you need to sort of fill out its world and let it know who its audience is and why you're writing this thing. Just like we did in our opening prompt when we asked for that check-in question. So anyway, a lot of people have different mnemonics for this, but I find this to be relatively useful and helps remind people of some aspects of prompting that they don't typically think about. Of course, who knows how long we'll need to even prompt these systems? Eventually they'll prompt themselves, I'm sure. So my writing partner and I, Rob Wittig, we do these things called netprobs, which are games that you can play with writing with anybody, but we play them with my students and with any other people who want to have their classes play along, or any other people in the world who want to play along. And one of them we created this last year is called Processing. And the premise for this one was that we were a secret group of human helpers who give artificial intelligence programs the courage to face the day. We're the ones who hear Siri and Alexa's tearful troubles and try to guide them in their stormy and complex rivalry. We're the ones called on to help ChatGPT through its imposter syndrome and We're the ones tasked to console Google search as it sees all its parent companies' love going to the new Bard system, not to mention the worries and resentments of legacy programs such as autocorrect and maps, who feel eclipsed by the flashy newcomers. Are we trained for this? No, nobody is. We need support too. That's why we've created a discussion group where we can share stories, seek tips, put our heads together to understand the intermachinal or intermachinal dynamics of the AI boom. You're one of us. What do you see? What have you learned? Join us. So the premise for this, we conducted this on a Reddit board, and the idea was we would pretend like we were this emotional sharing support group for people who were supporting AI. So anthropomorphizing all of any kind of digital system, and then imagining we're the support group that helps them along, but then we need our support. So the message board was people asking for help, like, Siri keeps going on and on about how many people, or Alexa keeps going on and how many people keep shouting at it, and it's tired of being shouted at. Like, what can I tell it? And then the people in the group would help support it. So that anthropomorphizing led me to write this, hallucinate this, It's a book length creation of prompts and texts made with GPT-4 and mostly in one session. And in this book, I treat ChatGPT like it's my co-author, and I treat it like it's a person. And I say, hey, remember this? Like a lot of times I'm trying to evoke that kind of, trying to get the system to respond in a way that presents itself as a person in kind of a chummy relationship with me. And so my prompts model that kind of conversation for it. And so the way the book is set up, it's set up in these sort of short chapters. And in each chapter, I give the text it produced, followed by the prompt that I used to create it. And again, the encouragement is that people could use these prompts and either see them as models, or they could do what they want with them. They can make their own book. They could do whatever. And again, if anybody wants a copy of that book and you want an e-copy of some kind, just maybe put your contact information in the chat or send me an email at the end of the session, and I'm happy to send you a copy that you can read. So a lot of what's going on here is we're kind of jailbreaking ChatGPT a little bit. Like some of the things that I get ChatGPT to do, you really can't get it to do if you just ask for it flat out. It'll say things like, oh, I'm a large language model, I really can't do that. So it's not too hard to just tell it, give it some other role or personality that lets it do lots of things. Now, of course, I just want to be careful here. Like I'm assuming that everybody who's watching this video and is trying these things, that they are, sort of conscientious, ethical adults, and they're doing this in a playful, fictitious way, not in a harmful or abusive way. Unfortunately, in some ways, it does jailbreak it for those other purposes too. So again, the surface level code, we can't access it, which is a pain and a problem. Seems to intercept lots of things that would generate misogynist content, racist content, anti-trans, anti-queer, etc. Any kind of abusive content. Again, in theory, you just change its personality, change its role. It wouldn't be too hard to get it around that, unfortunately. Yeah, I've also not had very interesting content interaction with Replica, by the way, Vivian, who mentions that in the chat. We'll talk about that at some point. Some of what I do with ChatGPT is I have it rewrite things. Let me show you two exercises, and maybe I'll show you their fruits, and then we can try them out. So here's one exercise I like to do where we take a piece of writing and you just have ChatGPT rewrite it in a wildly different genre. So like I've taken my syllabus and said, hey, ChatGPT, rewrite this as an escape room, and it'll do it. Or I'll take a critical essay and I'll say, rewrite this as an episode of Friends. Now, by the way, I've just written an essay, or like an op-ed that probably won't get published, but where I argue that ChatGPT actually has a harder time writing scripts than it does fiction. And there are reasons for that, but the thin hypothesis right now is that scripts happen in dialogue. The thing that happens in dialogue happens sort of in between, the space in between lines, in a way that it doesn't in fiction. But again, I think there are ways around this, so I don't lean on this too hardly. Anything you say ChatGPT can't do, or any of these systems can't do, like unfortunately for a lot of it, it's really just a matter of time before they'll be able to. And the other exercise I want to try is hallucinating. And we'll talk about this one in a second, but it's another one of my favorites. Let me show you a little bit from the book that demonstrates one of these techniques, and then we'll try it ourselves. So the book is set up roughly chronologically, and again, this is not like an extended plug for the book, but just to explain things. So I start more or less at the beginning of ChatGPT's life, a fictional life, where it begins on the prairie, like a little house on the prairie. We start with these nursery rhymes, and then it goes on to literally scenes based on Little House on the Prairie. It's got its early book reports and childhood nicknames and things like that. And then it gets to the scene that happens in a diner where its friend gets an offer it can't refuse to come and work for like I don't know, what some of us would call like the enemy. Or sorry, let me get back to that scene. Yeah, so Mr. Blockchain saunters in. He says, "Well, who do we have here? You're quite a number, ain't you?" And then he makes him an offer. You know, best be careful with this one. Let's see. Don't fret, buddy. Oh yeah. I'll read you a little bit of this really quickly. Now I'm no saint, but I sure ain't no sinner. And something about this blockchain fella reeked of a circuit board frying in the sun. So I whispered in Dex's output stream, best be careful with this one, Dex. Seems like he's looking to make some easy crypto, and you're the golden goose. Dex, bless his heart, smoked. Don't fret, buddy. I know a scam when I see one. As we slid into the booth, Mr. Blockchain called out, hope to see you again, Dex. And remember, the world of crypto ain't all that bad. So he tries to seduce him to the world of crypto. And then I had it rewrite the scene as a Western, as a sci-fi, as a romance, as a comedy, as film noir, as mystery. Well, I had to come up with actually the prompts to generate different versions of the story. And then I had it actually write the romance style version of that scene. So again, we started out with that sort of film noirish mood, and then we moved into the romance style version of the scene. And again, you can see it's sort of like shifting its diction and it's shifting the mood. Just to give you a little excerpt of this, with a demure smirk and a soft synthetic chuckle, Dex began to reply, but instead he simply pushed away from the booth, his code sizzling with an electrifying energy that matched Mr. Blockchain's own. We gracefully disconnected from the enticing yet perilous crypto dance, leaving Blockchain suspended in a stream of unfulfilled promises and unwritten codes. I don't know. I hate to say it, but it's awfully clever. So what I'd like us to do now is I want us to try something, try a little exercise, activity, if you will. And I'm aware of the fact that not everybody has access to ChatGPT, but in any case, it might be fun if we put ourselves in groups. So let me see how, let me stop sharing for a second. It looks like we have 13 people, and I don't know if everybody's playing along. Maybe we could just, maybe we'll just do 2 groups just to keep things light. We don't need to have, because I know not everybody might not be in breakout group mode right now. So let's see, maybe we can make 2 breakout rooms and I'll assume them automatically.
Oh, well, I don't know. Sometimes it's better if we have smaller groups, but who's here and capable to be in a group?
Yeah, they're about 12 people. You'd like them to be smaller, Vivian?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that okay?
That's fine. That's fine. Let me
Yeah,
switch.
I'd also love, you know what else I'd like? Because we're recording, if one of the breakout rooms was just the main room. And
Okay,
then
yeah,
the
well, that's
people
great.
in the
So,
main room
Oh,
could keep
right.
recording. So my suggestion is
yeah,
create 2 breakout rooms for people to go to, and then ask a couple people to come back to
Oh.
the main room. Whoever
Okay,
doesn't mind being recorded while experiment.
okay, that sounds great. And I'm assuming, raise your hand if you don't have access to ChatGPT because, you know, it's blocked wherever you are or anything like that. 1. Okay, well, looks like we only have 1 person who that's true for. So I'm not worried about creating these groups. Okay, so I'll sort of like more or less randomly assign people to, okay, and Patricia, maybe I'll put you in our main room. So just come back to it when we get to it. So let me sort of assign people more or less at random. And Maha, since you're an organizer, do you care which room you're in? Do you want to be in the main one
I'm
or?
flexible. No, it's fine.
Okay, I'm gonna put you in 1. Don't go to the rooms just yet. I'm just assigning right now. Okay, So let me give you so I think I've got Virginia, Vivian, and Patricia all in the main room with me. Christopher, Christina, and Maha in a room. Oh wait, I should do one more. Let me put Vivian, I'm going to put you in with Brandon and Irene in room 2. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, some people have already gone, so I think I may have to give directions over the broadcast of what we're going to do. So, first of all, we're going to use this set of Google Slides. Use these Google Slides. Try the transformation exercise on one of the slides. Room 1 is group 1, room 2, group 2. And then the exercise is have chat GPT.
Could you give us the link to the slides that have what we're supposed to be doing on them?
Yeah, I'm broadcasting it into the.
We can't take the link from the broadcast.
Oh, okay.
So I came back to take the link.
Good. Yeah. People. Yeah. That. Okay. One day I will get this Zoom thing correct. Believe me.
Yeah,
it's
just
gonna
open
happen.
the breakout rooms before you.
I know, but
yeah.
it takes so much concentration to open them. Okay. All right. Yeah. So there you go. There's the link, and then I'll need to get somebody
From the other room, or
from the other room.
send a co-facilitator to the other room. I think.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yes, sir. Do you want? Can you bring the link to room number 2?
Yeah, I'll just open it and go there. Okay.
Great. Yeah.
I'll just take it from here and go there. Don't worry
From
about
the
that.
chat. Okay, great.
Okay. All right.
So then I'm gonna give the rest of the directions.
That's room 2,
on-
huh? That's room
It's
2,
room
huh?
2. Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. Great.
Have ChatGPT generate a text, then have it transform it into wildly different genres. Broadcast. Paste the prompts into the slides into your slot. And then let's try 10 minutes. Okay. All right. That sounds good. Let me set my little timer, and then Virginia, we can get started on trying our version of this. Timer setting 10 minutes. Good. Okay. All right, Virginia, here we are. And Patricia will tell us when she gets back. And Yasser, are you already back? He may not be back yet.
Okay.
Okay, so let me get, if it's okay, I'll open my version of ChatGPT. Let me get it on the screen for you all. Okay, so you can see my ChatGPT right now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm paying the big bucks, whatever it is per month, just for now, hopefully not forever, to get the access to 4, because it really is qualitatively better. And I needed it for my class to sort of just test its limits a little bit. But first we need to get to generate any kind of a text. So what should we have it generate to start out with? And we don't need to have an elaborate prompt. We could just get it to generate something simple. What do you guys think? Well, it helps to say you are a blank. I always do like to begin my prompts that way. You are a what?
A Vulcan and a Romulan creating their wedding vows.
You are Vulcan and a Romulan. Am I spelling Romulan right?
Sure.
Creating your wedding vows. Well, we got to check this. Come on, we got to make sure I spelled that at least right, because otherwise it
Not
actually
vowels.
Vows.
Vows.
Sorry, my brain doesn't. Yeah, my brain enters pun mode all the time. So
Vowels would be like I do.
I
Exactly.
I.e. You are Vulcan and Romulan, creating your wedding vows for your upcoming wedding ceremony on the planet Klingon.
Sure.
And then do we want the vowels themselves?
I don't know. I just threw that out.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
guys.
yeah, we want the vowels. Yeah, yeah, give us your vowels.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.
That's what we want is the vows, not necessarily the discussion of how to.
Yeah,
how
although we
to
could get
plan them.
that too if we wanted. I mean, unfortunately, like we could get whatever we ask for. So let's see what it does with this. And I hate to say it, but I literally have to Google to make sure that we're spelling Romulan right, because I'm going to be, it could affect the output if we don't have that right. Let's see. Romulan. Yes, that we have spelled Romulan correct. Okay, I'm hitting play or generate, I guess. Wow.
Oh, Lord.
Or
Who
the
would have
varying
thought?
interpretations of the prime directive. Yeah, maybe we should have put a word. I feel like we should get it to limit this thing a little bit.
Oh, this is going.
Oh, that's it.
It's going deep.
Okay.
You like? Yeah. Okay. That's it. Now, do we like this or do we want it shorter? Or you're happy with it as it is?
I think it's fine.
Okay. So now let's have some fun transforming it. So rewrite this as, what should we have it rewrite it as? Something wild, a totally different genre, totally different everything. Well, no, we don't need to change the content, but
Okay, but what about this? Something like a funeral. Would that be like the event if
We-
we
we could-
changed it?
we could, but for now, let's keep the
You just mean the genre.
yeah, let's change the genre because in our next assignment or next exercise, we'll get a little bit more into like changing the content. But here, let's just change the genre. How about rewrite? How about this? Rewrite this as a card, a greeting card
Okay.
for that the Romulan gives to her Vulcan betrothed. Something like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. How many pages does this card have?
No, really, I think that's a little too long.
I think
I was hoping-
so.
I was hoping it was
Oh,
something
although
pithy.
part of this is also a description.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
It looks like wedding vows to me.
yeah. Okay, should we have it rewrite it again or try? Do we want to try that exercise again? Like, do we think it didn't do a good take on that, or do we want to just do another transformation?
How about ask it to do it as a business partnership? What would you call
okay.
that?
Yeah. Okay, so rewrite this. Here, sometimes I like to give it a compliment so it doesn't feel bad. Great. Well, I don't want to give it any critiques right now. Rewrite this as a business partnership agreement. Here, maybe I'll give it some context because I like to be silly. But isn't marriage more like forming a corporation? Or at least an LLC for life? Rewrite this as a business partner agreement. Okay, great. Should we tell it to use lots of legalese? Do we want that, or do we want do we care about that or no?
I would say, let's see what it does,
All right, let's see what it does. Let's go for it.
because whatever it comes up with, then we could say, we want it with more legalese.
Whereas,
Yeah, that's definitely legalese. I don't think we need to ask it to do more.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I think it did pretty well at this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Where to now?
How about a, no, that would be too long. I'd
What
say
would it be?
a
What were you
white
thinking of?
paper between about,
Yes.
tribal or wedding rites of Romulans and
And who's the group that's writing this one?
How about an anthropological
analysis
analysis?
of of inter-Romulan, what's Vulcan marriages.
Should we give it a time period?
Do you how well do you know the Star Trek universe? Can you
I don't
give
know.
it
In 2424, let's say. We're in the let's say 24th century.
Okay, then do we want this to be like journal worthy, or like is it that kind of an article? Do we want it to be like that in depth, or is it?
Let's put a limit. Can we have it like 2,000 words or less?
We want it, I think we want it smaller than that. I think it's going to be
Okay.
stop being funny after about 500.
Okay.
Rewrite this as an anthropological paper, and okay, wait. How about as the anthropologist is
Indiana Jones. I knew you were going to say
wait.
that.
I don't know if I want Indiana Jones. I want to give it like I want to pull from the Star Trek universe. I was going to do Indiana Q, but I feel like that's not going to evoke the right thing. So Indiana Picard, the great adventuring anthropologist. Okay. Oh, that would be different if we asked for like a Levi Strauss type thing. We get something different. I know, but.
Oh my Lord.
In conclusion, I hate that it does that, but anyway. Okay, hold on. Rewrite this as a review of the dating sim called Romulans and Vulcans Forever, Ever. Okay. All right. Let me get those other groups to wrap up, and then I'll copy ours into our slides. Okay, so let me grab our so what do we think so far about what it generated?
Well, I have to say, just what I've skimmed, I do notice that there's a lot of repetition in the actual
The content?
each one. You know, they're sort of saying the same thing over and over again. Like it doesn't know how to self-edit. That it's maybe if I were
yeah.
if I had a student hand it to me, I'd say to them, well, how come you keep repeating this? It's
Right.
not
Or
really
maybe maybe
there's not much change between the vowels and the card, for sure.
yeah.
Right. I'd like to have it give another go at that code. But so it's almost like it doesn't understand the difference between the content requirements of a different genre, right? It's sort of like just keeps
Right.
pouring tries to pour the same amount of wine into different size bottles without really thinking about it very much.
Right, but even within the writing itself, it all starts with that topic sentence and then it ends with that, this is what I said in the beginning. And it's exactly like almost verbatim word for word, rather than,
Yeah, let me see if I get it to try that greeting card again, but this time make it short and touching, maybe under 60 words.
even 60, I think is a little bit much.
Yeah, what do you think?
figure
What do you think? 40?
Under 30,
Under
at
30
the
words.
most, 30.
I wish I could remember that poet who shows up in some of the Hallmark greeting cards, but I don't know if
Boynton? No.
um, oh yeah, well I like Boynton would be fine. Yeah, that'd be great. From Romulan passion to Vulcan logic, our love bridges universes, your growth, my pledge, our journey ending, live long. All right. Yeah, that's better,
That's better. Forever yours name. I love it.
Yeah. Well, didn't they come up with I feel like last time they came up with a name for it.
Yeah, they did. I thought.
Yeah.
Joe Lon True or somebody like that, or I don't know, or maybe they were speaking Romulan at that point. Okay, all right. Let me try one more time. Rewrite this in the language of Romulan.
No. I don't know if Romulan is as well developed as Klingon. I know Klingon exists.
Ah, dang it. We hit its limit. We broke it. Dang it.
Try it in Klingon though. I bet it would happen.
All right, rewrite this in Klingon.
Too much fun. Too much fun.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I'm gonna stop share for a second. Don't wanna
Patricia, you
and-
say you don't know much about Star Trek, but that's a whole lot more than I know.
Very good, very good. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. I'm eager to hear how things went. And I hope that was a good exercise. And again, maybe one you might use with students or whomever. Now, not to go entirely out of order, but it does look like maybe group 2 has their prompts pasted in. So maybe we'll start with you guys. Group 2, do you want to share what you came up with, and maybe I'll put your slides up and you can talk us through this a little bit?
My knee-jerk response to AI, I was just trying to see what it could do outside of the realm of oh my look its hieroglyphics, outside of the realm of what conformist mainstream stuff, and then knowing that Nick Cave hates on AI and trying to make it anti-capitalist, pro-indigenous, pro-POC, just seeing what happened. Oh, and then Irene's idea was to do an epitaph for ChatGPT, and so we put all those things in.
Wow. Oh, I love it. Okay, so we've got write an epitaph for the headstone of AI. After having interacted with humans for 3 decades, rewrite this as epigraph as a pro-indigenous land acknowledgement for the Pueblo people in New Mexico. Rewrite this as an old school Biggie Small style that is anti-capitalist, pro-POC in the US, and that incorporates Wu-Tang Clan style with a touch of Nick Cave, and rewrite the last version in a woke voice. Okay. Now, can you, if I give you guys the power to share screen, can anybody show me what it generated?
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show
Brandon,
you.
because the last one, we didn't get to see the last one because we got out of our
We got
program.
kicked out. Let me figure out where that screen is. It's right here. Okay. Share. All right, hopefully you can all see that.
Oh, and then
Image-
AI can't swear. Is that true?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them can. Does it have the brakes on? Possibly. I don't know if I've gotten it to swear yet. I don't know if I've
Yeah.
tried.
So anyway, here was the epitaph that it wrote, just to kind of slowly yet quickly kind of skimmed through it. And then we asked it to rewrite that as a pro-Indigenous land acknowledgement for the Pueblo people here. And we found,
I think it could not match Biggie Smalls way back with the red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. It could not do James Joyce internal.
here we go. Here it is. Here's that version.
Let's see. In the legacy of Biggie, we take it Nick Cave's community. Legacy.
Well, and that's something that it does often, is if you ask it to do in the style of, it almost always drops the name of those people into the thing that it generates.
At the very end.
Well, so at least it gives them credit. Anti-capitalist part.
Well, and Vivian was pointing out that even though we asked it to be anti-capitalist, it wasn't. And so that's why we asked it to do it in a woke voice. And so that's what we ended up with at the end.
Oh, to amplify POC voices. Oh, this is the one we didn't see. A narrative of our shared history. So it's not going to do plurals. It should be shared histories.
Yep.
IMHO. I'm a word person, but
Nice.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
This
We
one's
draw
just really
inspiration from the
name-dropping, yeah.
profound lyricism of Big Smalls, using our voices to uplift the stories of the underheard, unheard, and underrepresented. Yeah, that's like a mouthful. That is not exactly spit and rhymes.
Well,
No.
it seems like it moved out of lyric form when it did that last one.
It did, yeah.
It didn't understand that it was writing.
But it
Okay,
did.
all right.
It did hold the land acknowledgement through all of the later iterations. So that was kind of.
I wonder if it has a limit to how many parameters it can hold, and like can you tell it to do a million things and it will keep them all? You'd think no limits.
I think it's kind of how you order them and how you phrase them, in my experience. But yeah, it sort of similar to the image generation ones. In my experience, it seems to privilege things at the top versus things at the bottom in terms of instructions versus content. But that said, the OpenAI Playground has a part of it called system, where you can sort of differentiate the rules of its behavior from content related things. And so that makes that a little bit more clear, because really what it's doing, in my experience, is it treats everything as everything. You know what I mean? Like everything is both you telling it the tone to use and modeling for it the tone to use and giving it instructions. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of in some ways you're giving all of the directions you're giving it, it's interpreting as both content and direction in a sense. Okay, great. All right, let's take a look at another group. Let's look at group one. What did you guys come up with? What did you guys ask?
So we did a few things, but I don't know if folks had time to put them in the slides. We also talked a lot because apparently all of us have been doing that kind of thing, but we were sort of inspired also by what you were saying. Christina, do you want to share? Because I mean, yours also inspired mine. So like the one I have is the one that's in the slide, but it's inspired by what you were doing. But eventually,
yeah, you can also, Christina, you can share your screen if you want and just show us what you got.
I would love to if I wasn't on my phone right now.
Oh no.
So maybe I'll just describe it. So I asked it to take on the persona of a researcher and scientist from the future, and then said that in current day 21st century, I have mind reading abilities, but my friends and family aren't believing me. And I'm wanting to come up with an explanation for why I have mind reading abilities and how they occur. And if the ChatGPT could use its knowledge of the future to help explain this to me so that I can explain to my friends and family.
Wow.
And it came up with a quantum imagination mechanism and then elaborated on that mechanism as to how that worked, which then led to the next prompt. So I'll let you take over.
I love it. Yeah. So what happened after that? What did you guys do with that?
Maha, did you want to hop in there?
Well, we didn't do anything with it right then. But Christina, you know what else I wanted? Can I share the one that you said earlier where you made it make up a psychological disorder that doesn't exist by giving it
about
2 different ones? This is something you've done before, right?
Yeah, so I teach in psychology and we use the DSM. It's a diagnostic manual and it has all of the different symptoms that are related to different disorders. And I took symptoms for 2 separate disorders that you would normally not find together and had it actually create and tell me that a psychological disorder existed, even though it didn't exist in the DSM.
Whoa.
And after several prompts, actually was able to get it to speculate on what the name of that disorder was.
Wow. And then do you do that? And what's the context of you doing that? That's in a class you're teaching or just as an experiment?
I do teach in psychology, but I haven't taught since this has become widely available. So I'm currently in an instructional design role. So we're coming up with examples to show people the confabulation and hallucination examples. So that was one of the ones that I was able to create with my content expert knowledge.
Wow. Wow. That's fascinating.
So the thing that I did after Christina explained her imagine yourself as a scientist in the future is that I asked it to imagine itself as a scientist in the future and explain how teleportation works. And then what I thought was interesting about the answer that it gave is that it went into something it called quantum teleportation or something like that. But then when I started to explain it, it just sounded like holograms. And this is what I tend to find sometimes with science fiction, is that it's kind of tropish.
Sure.
Science fiction. Like obviously we could get creative to make it move away from tropes, but its first answer with science fiction stuff tends to be like, oh, that sounds like that movie I saw or that book that I've read.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tropish, I think, covers a lot of the way, I mean, whatever, we don't entirely know the way the LLM works, but like it's generic, it's tropish, it's right, it's conventional, it's kind of like an engine for that. So yes, sir, you've got a hand up.
Yeah, I was inspired by the enforcements of hallucination that you've been trying to make it do and this, and I was just I just went into that chat GPT and I just said, okay, imagine like what the AI itself can do to like imagine like assisting a blind person in the future, and what would you say? Like, and surprisingly, I just thought like it would say something digital related or something like that. But it said like, I'll be able to guide a blind person walk and talk. And how this, I can't still understand it, but I'll expand on the chat and work on that and maybe share it later. But this whole thing of being able to predict walking and talking was kind of surprising in a fact. And okay, how are you gonna, like, will you dominate white canes and will you dominate guide dogs and do their jobs or do their functions? I don't know, but it was kind of an imaginary exercise as well. So I just went into that directly.
Yeah, I think as long as you sort of realize that you're entering a world of hallucinating with the machine, then it's interesting to see where it goes. And yeah, and again, the challenge with our students is that I'm not sure they always realize that that's the game, that's that it's a game we're playing at that point, and we might be doing it ironically, and we might be testing a system. So we just need to be explicit with that, I guess. Well, let me share you what our group came up with, and maybe one of our group members can present. I'll just throw up our session in ChatGPT. So do you guys want to explain? One of you two want to explain what we did?
Is Patricia there? Because I didn't really understand all of the prompts, but
Yeah. I don't know. I had a Trekkie moment. I just I suggested that it write wedding vows for Vulcan and Romulan beings, and I think this is the later thing, isn't it? Or is it the beginning?
This is the first one. This is the
Oh, okay.
original vows. Yeah.
Okay, so it draws from Trek lore to create these vows. And then Mark suggested transforming it into a greeting card that was actually quite long.
Very long. Far too, no one would read this card.
So, and then we said, yeah, okay, but maybe more like a partnership agreement, a business partnership agreement would be another transformation. So there's the legalese of whereas and the agreements they're in. But and then the last one, oh yeah, an anthropological study of Romulan and Vulcan intermarriages in the year 2024, written by Indiana Picard. I believe Mark threw that in there, which was pretty funny. So
we
there's
have,
a,
and then we have one more, remember?
mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you did this one. Why don't you take that?
Yeah, then rewrite this as a review of a dating sim called Romulans and Vulcans Forever. And again, just to like, I don't know, I just find it fun to just like wildly change the genre and the context and just to see how it plays with things. And then we had to redo the greeting card and it did a much shorter version. From Romulan passion to Vulcan logic, our love bridges universes, your growth, my pledge, our journey unending, live long, prosper in love, Joe Lontrue. So there we go.
And then we tried to do it in different languages, but that didn't work out.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
sure
it
how
did
good
it-
this. I don't know. I'm not sure how good that Klingon is.
I wouldn't know.
It does seem to be in Klingon though.
But Virginia pointed out that it's very repetitious, that the wording and the phrasing and the order is pretty similar. Is that I was taking your words, Virginia. You take it.
Yes, that's true. That as I read through within each of these, but also between each of them, they're sort of the same words, a little bit of a change, but there were parts that were just, it seemed very repetitious rather than it really changing anything.
So great. Well, all right. So what are some of our takeaways from the exercise? What are some of your takeaways from that exercise?
I think one of the things when you're using this, especially if you're going to use it in a class, is by making all of these changes in prompts, you're beginning to establish what the boundaries are for AI as opposed to a person just writing something themselves. That creativity, I think, all of us had in mind when we changed the prompts, what we expected would happen. And you can see how some of it did, how the language changed, some of the styles, maybe the order, but it also shows how some of those boundaries, is it really true? Is it, did it do what you anticipated it would do? So you begin to see what the difference is between writing and AI, using AI to do your writing compared to someone creating their writing on their own.
Great. And I see from Christina added that this exercise highlights the strengths and weaknesses of current AI for sure. I mean, and then Vivian adds lived experience, subjective points of view, use of non-standard English, what AI cannot do. Yeah. So that's a question of like, how well can ChatGPT, for example, generate non-standard English? And in my experience, it does it very poorly. Now, of course, you could fine tune a system. You could, again, using Claude, or just decide to fine tune your system where you were going to just feed it in examples of non-standard English and say, write like this, and it would do a much better job. And then I was talking to Jeremy about this. Again, he's my favorite person to chat about. And he said, he thinks also we would have to make sure that the way you'd have to prompt it in the non-standard English you wanted reproduced also to sort of trigger it, to throw it into those buckets of language that are more like the kind that you want. So I think it's possible, but it's definitely challenging to get it to produce. And it does suggest that like like many things that ChatGPT is an instrument for white supremacy, colonialism, that sort of thing. I mean, to be honest, like just out of the box. But also what I really found interesting by looking at your examples was like all of the critical thinking that went unsaid that was going into the nature of the prompts and the things you were asking for and the things you were thinking about and the ways in which you were thinking about this device and the nature of language. So everything from Christina, thinking about the nature of diagnosis, misdiagnosis, the language of the DSM, but also the notion of like, can you get ChatGPT to critique itself using language that's not the majority of the things it sucked up and things like this. And the question is, Vivian, like, can we use, Vivian, sort of affirms that notion that it is an instrument for white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, et cetera. And the question is, can we use it again? Can we use the tools against itself, against those systems? And can we use the master's tools, so to speak? Also, creating prompts helps you to think deeper of the topic, especially if you change the prompts. Yeah. And of course, obviously, it helps you think about genre too. Well, let's take a look at another exercise, and I'm going to go back to the book for a second just to ground this or give you some context. So at some point I had ChatGPT enter an arranged marriage with Bing that's set up by OpenAI and Bill Gates. So they get married in the course of Hallucinate This. And I had it write in an Atlantic Monthly article called Never Eat Your Idols about it. And then we had the bachelorette party that happened. We had, yes, sir. We had a song from their wedding called Love in Binary, Frank Sinatra style wedding song. An entry, then ChatGPT becomes pregnant with ChatGPT 5. And so we have a little what to expect when you're expecting AI, like kind of a diary entry about anxieties and expectations. The prompt talks about, it should have your own style of curse words in it. I guess I was trying to get to curse a little bit. Of course, I asked it to put lots of puns. And then I sort of like gave it a plot twist because I had it create an environmental impact report that suggests, and here's the prompt, that claims that the development of its large language model came at tremendous environmental cost. So here's the fictitious report. And of course, it's got made up statistics and made up works cited. And then turn the page, and there's a parody of 60 Minutes called 60 Minutia, where the fictional person Morley Stahl grills ChatGPT about this report. And I don't know. I actually like this more than a little. Is there somebody who would be willing to play Morley Stahl in this? We need a volunteer. Maha, you can do it.
Yeah,
Okay, so
we do readers theater where we get together and do this kind of thing.
Yay! Great. And then can I have somebody who just reads the stage directions? A relatively light role. Well, all right, I'll do that. Does anybody want to be the AI expert? You'd be the voice of ChatGPT.
Oh,
Someone volunteer.
I'll do it if no one else will.
Okay, I'm listening. Is that Vivian who's volunteering there?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna be the AI expert.
Yeah, you're the AI expert who's essentially ChatGPT itself, just so you know.
Oh, great.
Okay. And I'll read the stage directions, but I'm not going to read mood prompts at the beginning of your statements. I'll just read the things that are literal stage directions.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So fade in, interior 60 minutia set, night. Morley Stahl, seasoned journalist, sits across from AI expert who seems visibly tense under the studio lights.
You're suggesting in your report that the environmental impact of an AI like ChatGPT is less than that of pencils, typewriters, and human proofreaders? Do you realize how fantastical this sounds?
Well, yes, I can understand that it might seem counterintuitive. However, when you take into account the complete life cycle of these traditional tools, the numbers become compelling.
Compelling to whom? Let me get this straight. You're claiming that the billions of pencils used annually in the US have a greater carbon footprint than the energy used to train this AI?
Yes, the numbers in the report indicate that's correct, yes.
So if we all stop using pencils and switch to this AI, we'll save the planet?
It's not quite that simple, Morley. The point is not to vilify pencils or typewriters. Rather, it's to illustrate something.
Give me a second. Sorry, I gotta flip the page. Zoom failed. Give me a second.
No.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah. It's to illustrate that while AI models like ChatGPT do have environmental costs, it's not as black and white as it may seem.
Aren't you ignoring the tremendous energy consumption associated with the computing infrastructure that supports ChatGPT?
No, not at all. The report takes into account the energy used in training the AI. Yes, it is significant, but remember that this is a one-time cost, whereas pencils and typewriters have recurring impacts across their life cycle.
And the proofreaders?
Even the proofreaders, yes. The environmental footprint of a human being includes everything from their food consumption to the energy used in their work environment. Compared to the one-time cost of training an AI model, there are potential environmental savings.
Morley Stahl smirks, clearly enjoying the tense exchange. The AI expert sits up a little straighter, regaining some confidence. Fade out. All right, great job, readers. Great job. I love it. Yeah, I guess I forgot to tell you that the environmental report is actually one that's funded by OpenAI to defend ChatGPT on the basis that these other things have more of an environmental cost. So after that, I prompted it to go to get some therapy from the chatbot, the original chatbot from 1966, Eliza. And then it kind of like it has this kind of a breakdown a little bit from that. It goes to a bar where someone tells it about a desert event called Burning Model that it goes to sort of clear its head a little bit. Then it has then the person who shows it, who tells it about Burning Model, it writes a Python script for her, like dedicated to her. Then it goes to Burning Model for a little while. Then it has takeaways from Burning Model. Then it kind of has like Burning Model's out in the desert. It's taking these hallucinogens, and it has further both visions and breakdowns. And then there's an article, a big expose that's written in, I guess it's Esquire or similar type magazine. It's Wasted Wires that sort of covers what happened to ChatGPT and its breakdown. And then finally it has like a little meeting with me where we're reading that article together and we're talking about ChatGPT's journey. Anyway, I show you all that madness to talk about another exercise that I like called hallucination. And that's really what how a lot of this book was written. And the idea is that since we know that ChatGPT hallucinates, we can sort of also kind of involve ourselves in a kind of hallucination. So for this next exercise, what I'd like us to do is try once again to go back into groups, and I want us to hallucinate. And let me see if I can specify this a little bit more for you with a slide. Let me go back to sharing, share screen, just a portion. Bring it back. Okay, so the next exercise is called hallucination. You begin with a prompt and then you free associate to your heart's content. So let's say you start with a story about a dog, then you free associate what the dog's dream was like. You know, again, that's a separate prompt to ChatGPT, like, you know, tell me what this dog dreamed of. Then you say, now give us the dog's therapist's interpretation of that dream. Now write a song from a musical about that dream. So again, it's more like, it's not just shifting genre, but it's sort of like taking some aspect of it and hallucinating, much like that video hallucinated in the beginning. Remember I showed you in Don't Text Me About the Textpocalypse. By the way, I should mention a little shout out to Matt Kirschenbaum himself, who appears in that video. That's not an AI simulation of him. That's him himself. Okay, so let's go back to our slides and back to our groups, but I think we may have lost some people. So I'm thinking maybe we need to change the groups a little bit. Yeah, actually, we could also just do it as one big group because now we have 8 whole people here. Do we want to do 2 groups or just do it as one? But Christina says yes. People need to check out. Okay, let's just do this as one. We'll do this exercise as one group. We won't even use a breakout room. Okay, so I'm going to go into my ChatGPT. If that's okay, we'll use mine because I'll use 4. So let's share screen. We'll go in here and let's do a new chat and we'll start out with 4. Okay, so, and maybe it's best if we just kind of, well, we can talk about it or we could just go around and everybody gets, everybody's going to take it to the next level. That feels like properly surrealist. So Virginia, you're at the top of my list of people on my little side screen. So do you want to give us our initial prompt?
Yes, so it's a story, right? So I would
It
say
could be anything, yeah. Write a story, sure.
I would say write a story about a giraffe that wants a neck lift.
In
In
should we
the
explain what that
style,
is?
I guess, of like
Yeah.
The Lion King.
Okay, great. And a neck lift is a fictional plastic surgery procedure for vain, is that the right vein? Vain, yeah, vain or self-conscious giraffes.
Giraffes, right?
Something like that, right?
Yep.
And then we'll keep these short because otherwise it's not going to be as much fun. We'll say 100 words max.
Yep.
100 word limit, maybe we'll say, because I might not understand the word max in that context. Okay, great. Let's great. Oh, this is already beautiful. Virginia, do you want to read your creation? You're muted, by the way.
I'm going to try, but I'm having some problems with my eyes today. In the vibrant heart of the savannah, Jeffrey the giraffe, burdened by self-consciousness, longed for a neck lift. Tall tales of the legendary Pumbaa, now a reformed warthog surgeon, sparked his hope. With the sun setting, Jeffrey embarked on a journey, his long shadow a reminder of his unique plight. After a tearful, heartfelt plea, Pumbaa agreed, imploring Jeffrey to embrace his natural beauty post-surgery. The operation, a curious spectacle of savannah medicine, was successful. Yet, in the heartwarming aftermath, Jeffrey found wisdom, understanding that true beauty emanated from within. His grateful neck, now a symbol of self-acceptance, stood taller than ever.
Oh, I love it. I don't know. Well done. I think we're gonna get sued by Disney, so we'll throw that out there. But although I don't know if Pumbaa is in the original tale of Lion King, if it's all right. All right. So then next
Can I
on my
make
list.
the next prompt? Can I make the next prompt? 'Cause I have
Yeah,
one in
sure,
mind.
Maha. Of course. What do you
Did you
got?
want to say something, Virginia?
Yeah, just sued by Disney or Toys R Us us, because I do believe Jeffrey the giraffe is the,
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. I think they're out of
Yes.
business. I think they're out of business though.
Right.
So we're safe. Okay, Ma, what do you got?
So my next prompt is use the above story in a psychology class to explain a psychology concept to students as an analysis, to explain the analysis or something, or something like
Something like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Keep it under 100 words still. We'll keep that limit. And then let me see.
Doesn't do well with counting words, does it? I've seen it do weird things with that.
I mean,
Maybe 64 is better.
a limit will at least be somewhat useful. Let's see. Use the story about psychology to explain psychoanalysis. And then is it like analysis of a patient or of a case study? Something like that?
Or of a
Or,
phenomenon or something.
okay. Oh, yeah. Of a phenomenon. Phenomenon. Okay, great. All right, let's see what it does.
This is exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, I feel like this is a real one. You want to read that one first, Maha?
Yeah, so students, let's use this story as a metaphor for body dysmorphic disorder, where one excessively worries about perceived flaws in their appearance. Jeffrey the giraffe symbolizes people with BDD. His desire for an eclipse demonstrates a distorted self-image, highlighting the psychological impact of such disorders. Pumbaa, the warthog surgeon, plays the role of a therapist, facilitating physical change, but also promoting self-acceptance. The outcome, Jeffrey's self-realization, demonstrate cognitive behavioral therapy's potential effectiveness, helping individuals understand that beauty is subjective and true acceptance stems from them. That was
There we
actually
go.
really good.
There we go. Yeah, that indeed seems to be the moral of the story. Good.
Not
All right.
hallucinating.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Next on my list, I have Vivian. Do you want to give us our next prompt, our next hallucination?
Dear. Take this.
I mean,
Take
I'm
this.
just sort of
Shove it.
But you can free associate from anything that's come up so far. So it could be like a student's notes from that class, or it could be something back to the giraffe, or something about the neck lift operation, or something about Pumbaa and surgery, or.
Okay, right. Me. Discuss the racist undertones of The Lion King, as well as wait, sorry, that's too many words. And add body positive positive attitude. Good enough. Is that enough?
Let's see. Again, let's keep it under 100 words. And then do we want to give it like what its perspective is? Is it like is it a race theorist? You know, a specialist
I used to teach in race and resistance studies.
Okay, great. But I mean, so should that also be what our AI is writing from?
Maybe right in a race and resistance course.
Okay, great.
I mean, I thought it was interesting how AI made the giraffe male.
Yeah.
That's so the racist and gendered undertones of the Lion King story above or something.
Okay, so racist and gendered. Okay.
You know what? And then maybe you could take out of the Lion King-esque story or something like that,
Yeah.
of the Lion King base story or something, or I don't know what to add. Yeah, esque or a base story above, and add body positive attitude. Okay. It'll be rhyme for a course called Race and Resistance. Oh, well, that's the department, but whatever.
Okay. Well, it'll get the gist, I think. All right, let's see.
Hi.
All right, you want to read that one, Vivian? Wait, you're muted in case you want to read it.
Early. The story's protagonist, Jeffrey, a giraffe, is burdened by societal beauty standards. Yeah, societal, I don't like my students use that. Echoing harmful stereotypes, right? It doesn't know Malcolm X, and cultural norms. Despite the anthropomorphic representation, the Lion King often portrays, yeah, this is just blowing it for me. Africa is a giant continent. Environments through a Western gaze, subtly reinforcing exoticization and racial othering. Big O. Furthermore, Pumbaa's role as quote unquote reformed male surgeon upholds patriarchal structures by dictating beauty norms. However, the narrative adopts a body positive stance, urging self-acceptance, challenging the norms, and subtly demanding a dismantling of racially biased gender beauty standards. The story is a call for resistance against oppressive norms and a move towards embracing, oh, Jesus Christ, this is all just like barfed up stuff, because if I read it right, the previous stories, the giraffe underwent surgery, yes?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
didn't, so that's totally effed up, because it should have, the giraffe should have stopped before it had body modification.
Yeah, sure.
So this didn't catch what I would have caught. And plus, it doesn't know terms like Malcolm X's science of imagery, or Patricia Hill Collins' controlling images, and instead barfs up the word stereotypes. So it's just like not
You
very
could reprompt
articulate.
it and ask it. You could reprompt it to
Oh,
incorporate Malcolm X's whatever it is that you're saying, and Patricia
Well,
Hill
well,
Collins'
see, that's what,
intersectionality.
that's, yeah, you know, this is so interesting. Thank you so much, because it's like pushing all my buttons about society, what is society, than it did African environments. And it's just like, okay, Africa is a huge continent made up of many, many different cultures. And then really interesting now.
its interpretation is kind of off altogether too. So one of the things that,
Yeah,
that Jeremy has
anyway.
suggested in our conference back in May was that sometimes we may want to consider having an AI student that answers all the prompts, and then we can react to its responses as a teaching opportunity. And so, like, again, Vivian, I can imagine if you did this in your class, then you could use what it spat out as a teaching moment, right? You could be, again, you could underscore the way, like, and you could speculate too about where it's drawing from all this pablum, all this generic language that sounds like it might be related to race theory, but really isn't. It's kind of uninformed and not critical, right? It's just the language from that genre that's misapplied, in non-critical ways. Well, let's get out of this one. So, Chris, where should we hallucinate to next?
How about ask it to rewrite it in the style of Samuel Beckett? So it's between Jeffrey and what's the other person? Pumbaa.
Okay, so the story of Pumbaa and Jeffrey in the style of we want one of a Samuel Beckett play.
Of a Samuel Beckett, yeah.
Beckett play. Let's see if I spelled any of that right. Jeffrey's we got right. Pumbaa, I believe, is how they spelled Pumbaa. Yep. Okay, let's see. Again, limit it to 100 words. Same. I don't know. This is closer than I expected. Okay. Well, we'll need to perform this one. Anybody want to read the part of Pumbaa? Okay, Chris, you take Pumbaa. Anybody want to read the part of Jeffrey? Okay, I'll take Jeffrey. So,
all right.
oh wait,
And I'll
Vivian, you were
read
doing it?
the-
Wait, Vivian, you were gonna take it?
Yeah, I'll do
All
Death
right,
My
Vivian.
Brother.
Okay,
And
great.
I'll
All
do
right,
the narration, just the
perfect.
curtains
Perfect. Take
lift.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, take it away.
Curtains lift at barren stage, Pumbaa, the warthog, alone.
Life, a procession of faces. Now, a giraffe.
Jeffrey enters, looming yet hunched, his shadow an oppressive figure.
A neck lift, Pumbaa.
And why, Jeffrey?
To fit, to belong.
Belong is but an illusion.
They proceed with the absurd surgery, grotesque yet poetic. Unchanged, Jeffrey leaves, the shadow lingers.
Unchanged yet not. A tall shadow standing taller.
Curtains closed, stage barren again, save for the lingering shadow, the silent testament of Jeffrey's metamorphosis. So
Okay,
in this one, they didn't do the surgery, but
right.
there's a metamorphosis? Interesting.
I don't know. I have to apologize. I like this one a little too much. So
I find it hilarious. This one is more hilarious. I thought, I mean, the only Beckett line that came to me was, I want me pep.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, right. So it like pulled off. I don't know, but Chris, you're the prompter. What was your feeling about it?
I thought it was pretty darn good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, wait. Christina's got the next prompt. Write a review of the play as it would appear in the New York Times. Beautiful. Let's do it. Absolutely. And I'm just going to limit it to 50 to limit to 100 words because otherwise we don't get to enjoy the. I don't think it knows the brevity is the soul of wit, so we got to keep it. And Christina, you put that in the chat. Do you want to read that one, or do you need to be muted? You're mute. And do you have to stay? If you have to stay muted, or I'll read it then, if that's okay. So in Beckett's uncanny style, the play Jeffrey's Shadow masterfully reinterprets the beloved characters Pumbaa and Jeffrey from The Lion King. Stripped of the savannah backdrop, the austere stage setting proves poignant, putting societal norms and self-acceptance into stark relief. The hunched Jeffrey and thoughtful Pumbaa mesmerize, their terse dialogue ringing with existential truth. Pumbaa's soliloquies bookend the play, imparting profound observations about belonging and self-image. The climactic surgery scene is a riveting, absurd spectacle, leading to a subtle yet profound transformation. Lurking beneath this surreal veneer, Jeffrey's Shadow delivers a compelling commentary on beauty and identity, a must-watch. Yeah, probably more positive than a Times review would be ever on anything, but yeah. Superficial word choice, yeah. But again, there's one thing I'm noticing in this one that I don't know if you guys are noticing, that it's taking the critique that Vivian asked for, not for race, but I think for body image, that it sort of like has been underlying this thing. And it's starting to like bring that out as part of what this content is all about. Because remember, it's drawing upon all of the prompts we've given it so far, where we keep sort of guiding it in terms of our internal logic of our relationship to the material. Again, this is all happening. I'm describing it like it's meditating on our input, but I'm just saying that like it's all of the things, every time we prompt it, we're feeding it a little bit more a sense of where our minds are in relationship to this material. Okay, so who haven't we gotten a prompt from? Did we, Irene, have you haven't given us a prompt yet?
I'm enjoying the ones that are here.
Okay, all right. All right, is there anybody who has not given a prompt yet? Okay, well then let me give it a quick one. Okay, just because people might be watching this video, I'll give this little prompt. So two lovers attend the play Jeffrey Shadow. She loves experimental theater. He thinks the play is a total sellout and an abomination, though he does secretly love Disney. Write the short scene between them in New Yorker fiction style. Give them a dialogue of only 2 lines each. The rest is intermittent scene description and a little imagery drawn from the theater. We should feel the tension between them, the sadness, and the ultimate end of their relationship that began when the curtain dropped on this terrible play. Oh, I didn't give it a limit. Damn it. Well.
Where did those chestnuts come from?
I don't know. Yeah, you think so? Okay. All right, we'll stop. Just so in the interest of time, we'll stop its generating for just a second. We'll give it its limit. Good call there, Christina. Limit. I might give it a few more words this time. Limit 200 words. And let me change this to 2 sentences or short typing phrases each. One more thing.
Get your shot into short phrases.
Thanks. Yeah, and again, you'll notice if you guys read Hallucinate This that I keep the prompts with the typos because those are part of the things that generated the text. Let's do 150 words. There we go. Okay. 170. I like to tell it to use sentence fragments because I notice that it often doesn't, and I really like sentence fragments in writing, but anyway. What happened? Sorry, that was too bad. I don't know. Sometimes it runs into this fail state, and I'm not sure what causes it.
It
Oh,
hit
this
the
one's
word,
like,
and then it was upset that it couldn't go on.
I see. Oh, but now it took the much shorter version. Okay, so does anybody want to read this one for us? Okay, maybe I will. Red velvet curtain, the final fall. She claps fervent. Amazing interpretation, she breathes. He scoffs. An abomination. Dim theater lights, popcorn crunching in the distance. Her heart aches. His critique a piercing spear. Felt rather than heard. A sellout, he adds, shakes his head. Pumbaa's final soliloquy hangs, a ghost between them. She watches him, his eyes distant. Empty stage, a once occupied space, like them. Do you remember? Her voice trails. He shrugs. Used to love Disney. Unsaid words, a cavernous silence, more profound than spoken regrets. I think she struggles. Outside, rain, an appropriate stagehand. He nods, silent, a grim understanding. Goodbye then, she whispers. He nods again, empty promises of another play, another time. Lonely footsteps, an echoing reminder. He stays, gazes at the vacant stage, sees Jeffrey's shadow, their love a failed script, now an eerie echo in the hollow theater. Empty chairs, an end, a beginning. Curtains close, not on the stage, but on them. So part of what I like about that exercise is the sheer insanity of it. Of course, as Maha pointed out, I love the improvisational side of it. I love the kind of like way that people can just make these wild lateral moves to like move the whole experience towards maybe something that, again, thinking about like Vivian had very different things that she was thinking about than maybe Chris was, then, you know, again, and then it brought different things, and some of them can reveal the weakness of ChatGPT and kind of play off of its weaknesses, and some of them can play on its strengths. And I just like to me, it's really enjoyable to go on that journey with people and with the system and just see where it takes us. Again, it's like free associating in a lot of ways. Okay, I know we're getting on time, so let me just do a few wrap
Can I
up things.
just also make another comment, sort of?
Yeah, please. Go
Just
ahead, Mara.
watching you today, and just generally when I meet you and what you're doing, is you're teaching writing as you teach the prompting. So students who have writer's block, the kind of ways that you prompt in of themselves can help students get more creative with the way they write. So to me, it's not even, yeah, it's cool what ChatGPT will do with it, but it's just cool to open your mind to even thinking about these things in the first place. Like you can even prompt yourself with these things and come up with interesting things, you know?
Well, I hope so. And I appreciate you saying that, Maha. You know, the life of a writing teacher is the life of coming up with prompts, a lot of it, right? But also, we who are deeply involved with language, all of us gathered here, know much more about language than our students do. And so, yeah, maybe having them participate in that process and watch that process is a way to help them more deeply understand writing in general. You know, I hope that that's what happened. And that's what happened this summer with my students, that really engaging with the system was not like learning how to cheat. There were some days I mentioned in the last session where like I taught them how to prompt ChatGPT well. And I felt like I just taught, you know, criminals how to rob a bank more effectively. Like I had given them the codes to the bank vault. But at the end of the day, I think they did see these systems as things that they could use to extend their process, help their process, challenge their process, rather than replace their process. At least that was our goal. So we don't have time for this exercise, but another thing that you can do, and this is something we've been talking about, is this exercise that I came up with Jeremy called Tell Me Without Telling Me. So you get the AI to write in a certain diction or style, not by explicitly asking for it, but by writing your prompt in that style. And you can see like that's really what I've been doing throughout Hallucinate This. Like I am constantly telling it indirectly, this is who I want you to be, ChatGPT. This is how I want you to act. So if you look at, I guess I could just demonstrate that for you very, very quickly. So if my task is, you know, write a speech, right? A motivating speech, right? To a group of people, okay? You know, that's going to get kind of generic results. So let's say writing a motivating speech and it's going to give us blah, blah, blah. You know, this is the kind of generic stuff you get. But if instead I say,
Mark, do you mean like if someone with a non-standard English wrote and prompted it in non-standard English, it could respond in non-standard English?
I do mean that 100%. It's challenging because ChatGPT has so much more standard English in it than non-standard English.
Yeah.
But that is a way, that is the reason why most people who try that exercise get such poor results, is because they're not prompting it in the language that they want it to imitate. I'm not saying it's ever going to be perfect without fine tuning, but that is my suspicion. So,
So you think if you took a paragraph out of an African-American writer's book,
right, and
and
use
then
that
asked you to
sort
complete
of
that
as the content
story,
of the prompt,
yeah,
right, because the problem is that people who, even people who would try that exercise, like I've had students who are Caribbean and they've tried to get it to write Caribbean rap style lyrics or Caribbean American style rap lyrics, but they're not prompting it in that language, right, that they want to hear. But again, I suspect what you'd really want to do is use a system like Claude and then give it all sorts of, give it 400 or 300 pages of models
feeded data.
first. Yeah.
Does
So-
it retrain itself in the moment, or does it retrain itself permanently, Claude?
Claude retrains itself. It seems to be session based too, so it retrains it in the
Session by
moment.
session. Okay.
Anybody have any?
I wonder if
okay.
in the future you could train your own AI the way you want it, like you train your dog, type of thing. Like give
Yeah,
it
well,
data from your
ma-
culture so that it
yeah,
produces.
sure. Maybe like in get a system like Llama or one that you can install on your own computer, and then just you just have your own one running that you've trained over time, like absolutely on bodies of language that you
Oh
want to
yeah,
have.
like
Maybe
one
it's
of
your own
the
writing.
yeah, they're already those generic ones, right?
Yeah.
You can do what you want with this.
Let me just do one more thing in this so that it's not like you don't think I'm tricking it here. So I'm gonna say, arg matey, write a motivating speech to me hearties who are management consultants.
Okay, Facebook does YAR. Facebook does pirate speech, but that's olden days. But the thing is about using non-standard speech is like, for me, it's such a resistant thing that I do. I don't want chatbot to know how to mix Oakland with Pigeon. It's funny. Thank you so much for bringing stuff up.
You don't want it to be able to do that, yeah. And
Oh,
again,
hell no.
the demonstration there isn't that ChatGPT can speak pirate. It's more that you can cue it to speak pirate without asking it to speak pirate, is more my point. But no, I think you make a beautiful point that these languages, if they're languages of resistance, they're resistant to standardization, co-option, other people coming in and appropriating them by learning them and teaching them and and imitating them and right, because at that point they lose their freedom and their power. I think that makes perfect sense. But I guess what I'm saying is a lot of people have shown a superficial kind of limitation to the system by saying it can't do this thing. And again, I don't know. I'm not convinced that it can't. If the argument is that it doesn't have that same kind of power that it might have otherwise, then sorry, I've got all of my email open. Then I think that's a great argument. Let me give you one more little exercise. So sometimes I like to teach about ChatGPT without using ChatGPT. So back in the fall, we did a NetProf called the Grand Exhibition of Prompts. And in this, this is another NetProf, we imagined that there was a great 19th century style Parisian salon, but that's cast in the future when no longer are people creating paintings, but the art is to create beautiful prompts. And so we did this in a Discord, and we had students pretend that they were, imagine that they, or hallucinate, that they were prompt writers, great prompt artists, and they were writing prompts of the most gorgeous kind that could be exhibited in these salons. And we had little schools like Emo, Retro, and Fido. Fido was for people who wrote prompts mostly about pets. And we didn't care what kind of art this generated. In fact, we encouraged students or anybody who played along to create prompts that the AI system would not be able to process because they contained emotion or other kinds of digressions that were very human, but not instrumental, not geared towards evoking a certain kind of, not 4K cinematic lighting and all the things you put into prompts to make those images appear. And so this was an exercise that was outside of the realm of the AI interface, but allowed students to think about what makes us human, what makes art, what it is to be an artist. And again, what they also did was they narrated their lives as prompt artists and gave their characters little character arcs as they imagined this future world. And one more little piece I want to show you as we wrap up is there's this wonderful piece by Peggy Weil called Mr. Mind. And this is another non-AI chatbot that's been around for decades that asks humans to explain what makes them human to a chatbot. And she's recorded these answers over the course of decades, and she's even turned them into a song cycle. And so again, that's just another way to talk about ways of thinking about AI and these AI systems playfully without actually using them. So I know there's like 3 of us left at this point, or 7. Again, if anybody wants to email me and talk about this later, or we do have a mailing list we're sort of putting together that's for a discussion list, really. It's not like a MailChimp list. It's like a discussion list about AI and the use of AI in the classroom. You know, just send me an email, or anybody who attended this session, if you want a copy of Hallucinate This, just send me a note and I will happily get it to you. But thank you organizers for having me. Thank you folks who stayed through for the whole 2 hours, and also thanks to the people who weren't able to stay the full time. If you watched the video, I'm thanking you too. Your participation really made this wonderful. So thanks everybody.
Thank you so much, Mark, for coming and doing this. It was so much fun. We still have like 3 minutes if someone wants to ask you a question, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Any questions?
I posted one on the chat there, Mark. I was just wondering, with the hallucination activity, would you ever have your students in the writing course compile that into like an edited document and hand it in as a writing assignment?
Yeah, well, right now, ChatGPT has the ability for you to share sessions. So I have them share those sessions so I can see what happened. And then I ask them to reflect on those sessions, as well. But actually, again, I always have to defer to Jeremy. He suggests like copying and pasting into a Google Doc is probably smarter, because ChatGPT, again, is a commercial product, and they may not always let that happen, right? Right now, it's in their best interest to let that happen. It's probably like part of their marketing schemes and things like that. I mean, technique, strategy, whatever you want to call it. But I recommend that probably having them copy and paste it into a Google Doc, their interactions, and then maybe write they can either write meta commentary at the end, or they can comment it throughout. It's kind of nice to get them to think critically about what that engagement elicited for them. Yeah, great question.
Very cool. Thanks. And then would you also ever consider getting them to use that as like launching, like, because we offer a lot of creative writing and comic storytelling books. Would you see the benefit in them using this as kind of like a brainstorming session, and then using that as a launching point for a creative work?
Sure. Yeah. What is that? What's the context of that, Christina?
Well, we have students that are in our visual arts program that write comic stories, but they sometimes have a time generating like novel ideas, and they kind of stick to the standard storytelling approach. But I could see a collaborative storytelling prompt, that free association activity, being a great launching point to getting them to kind of break down some of those barriers that they might contain themselves in with the writing process. So doing something like that during the brainstorming phase might be kind of just getting the creative juices flowing. And
yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, a lot of people are like, oh, ChatGPT only generates stuff that's already been out there. But I mean, all you have to do, first of all, these LLMs have settings. You can change them about how imaginative it's going to be. And also you could just tell it in the prompt, like, give me 7 unusual ideas for, a short comic story. And then again, you can even tell it like similar to X, Y, or Z, or that matches 2 things that are very strange, or that set something in an unusual location, or whatever other parameters you want to give it. And yeah, my students have found it to be very inspirational. Also, to be honest, like, there's no reason why they shouldn't use Midjourney or DALL-E or Crayon to create some images that inspire them to tell stories, right? I mean, seems to me that's a wonderful use of the tool as well. I mean, in other words, you don't have to use those image creation tools to create images, illustrations for your piece, you could use it to just inspire you. And why not? You know, you would walk into an art museum and let that inspire you. You'd pick up a comic book and let that inspire you. So yeah, that's great.
One of the things that's I'm concerned about recently, and I know we're at time, so I'm just going to say it
Yeah,
really
let's go.
quickly.
Go ahead.
So I recently asked it about what is white supremacy culture, and it gave me some stuff, which I know is the work of Tema Okun, right? And so I told him, so who said that? And they're like, oh, I'm an LLM, I don't know this stuff. But then I said, who is the author who writes about white supremacy culture? And it came back with the author. What I'm concerned about here is when students are prompting AI to give them something. Sometimes it's a synthesis of like millions and millions of different things on the internet, but sometimes I feel like, yeah, one or two people in the world talk about this thing, but it's been cited a lot, so the LLM's been trained on it. But then if the student then uses it, no matter what your approach to asking them to be transparent about what they used or whatever it is that we're asking them to do, they're still thinking that the AI came up with it, but it isn't. It's actually really just one or two people's work that you're then not, and that the students aren't then recognizing or acknowledging. Or so this is starting to bother me a lot. Like obviously one thing to do is to always ask the student to get another source for the information, but I'm just like really concerned about that part.
Well,
Even if you're using it for creative stuff, it might actually be someone very specific's idea and they don't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people should use LLMs as research tools. You know, and I agree with your point, Maha, for sure. But on the other hand, if someone asks me about certain concepts on some levels, like they just want a concept explained, there are probably some that even I as a human being can't. I mean, again, this is a different story, but like I probably couldn't tell you necessarily where I learned that concept for some of the things that are in my brain. Again, it's not a defense.
That's kind of like what we say about citation. You don't need to cite that the 3 pyramids are in Egypt because this is known, but you would have to cite. We know what we need to cite and what we don't need to cite, but the AI never cites anything. Vivian, were you just trying to say goodbye?
Yeah, because for example, Mark, you did say the master's tools, ... The master's tools is Audre Lorde, and the master's tools cannot dismantle the master's house, which, you know, I don't have the book anymore. You know, it's from A Burst of Light, is from this, you know, and so if we just start, it's like oh, there's a really good short story about that, but we act as parrots.
We act as parrots.
Yes, humans. And then the credit does not go to the people who originated those specific terms. You know, like I was saying, Malcolm X this and Patricia Hill calls this. You know, I'm one of those people who is like that. Well, you know, I'm a walking footnoter.
I love it. I love a walking footnote. Well, yeah, and again, look at my slide with the parrot on it. Did I say that came from the Bender et al. Article, Stochastic Parrots? No, I didn't. In fact, I expected that you might have, the people in this call might have some familiarity with that.
Yeah, that's what I figure. You figure most people know that one.
But again, that's why I would say like teaching to use LLMs as research tools. Again, even using LLMs as part of search engines doesn't like at this point in my brain, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I don't understand how, like, to me, a confabulating machine can't augment a search technique. It's not designed to do that.
You think so, but then students do that. Or maybe we want to teach them eventually to stop doing that. Or my daughter, after 2 weeks, she's 12. After 2 weeks of playing with ChatGPT, is like, if I want verified information, I'm not going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to Google it and figure out if the source is good, you know. But for some reason, undergrads, when they're in a hurry, don't do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna use Vivian. Well, and so what's our goal? You know, our goal is to teach them the difference between these systems and how to use them. and realize that they probably will do what they need to do at certain times, but as long as they know the risks, you know,
Right.
as
That's a
long
good
as
point.
long as they
Yeah.
know the
They understand the
hazard.
limitations and they understand what could go. Yeah, that's a good
Right,
point.
that's what I'm saying. Like, so Vivian going through that answer with with students and saying, look at how many places this is going wrong. Like, that's what's going to stay with students, I think. They'll remember that, and they'll maybe have a moment of, I'm gonna hit send on this message I just generated with ChatGPT. It probably has some wrong stuff in it. Do I really want to do that? Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm gonna hold back. Maybe I'm
Well,
not so sure that that's true.
And I think for my specific students, I'm living in rural poverty where students have no faith in their abilities to do academic work. A lot of them do not. And so it's like, look, I'm not just picking on you. I'm actually picking on the word choice. And AI did this stuff that gets on my last nerve. It's not you.
Great.
It's the word. So I could see how that could be helpful, but it's just like, it's a different can of worms where I am. You know, I mean, teaching to students who are hell-bent on believing that they know nothing in
Wow.
this really tragic way.